Good evening and welcome to Space Oddities. I'm Andy, and joining me tonight we have some regulars from Space Oddities. Hi Michael, hi Roger, hi Daz.
Hello.
Is Daz there? He looks a bit blurry.
I'm blurred.
I don't know.
Is that a dream?
He wishes to remain anonymous.
Yeah. So,
And I'm in a minute.
can you hear us?
Is the lens
I'm
stable?
here. Can you hear me?
Right. Yes, we can. That's fine. Yes. So.
Oh yeah, I've gone blurry.
Yeah. Oh God, yes. You look better like that. That is it. So we are a bit thin on the ground tonight. It's holidays and everything else, but never mind. We've got a packed show to deliver to you tonight, we hope. And thank you all for being here so much. If this is your first time watching Space Oddities, an even bigger thank you. We hope that you will stay with us and watch us every week. So what's been going on this week? Well, we're going to tell you about a rather unfortunate incident involving an observatory in Canada, which was quite disturbing, really. And Michael will be telling you all about that. I'm going to be telling you about some discoveries involving interesting exoplanets. Daz is going to be telling you all about the word Selene, as referring to the moon, and the history of that. And of course, we've got the latest galleries and night sky guide from Roger. Thank you to all of us who continue to buy us coffees every week. Thank you. Your generosity is really appreciated. We do appreciate it, and it helps us to do the things that we want to do with Space Oddities. So thank you so much for that. Don't forget, as always, that the Space Oddities summer range is now on sale. You can look cool on your street by wearing the latest T-shirts. Michael is modelling. Oh, and Roger and Daz. Except me. I don't get mine till Thursday. Mine arrives here on Thursday.
I won't lift it up anymore.
So this is the Space Oddities T-shirt. If you'd like a Space Oddities T-shirt to wow the special people in your life, and well, I said I'd split up with you after that, of course. Here's the link. This to the T-shirt. The T-shirts are £19, including UK postage and packing, which we think is a really good price. And from the feedback we've had, everybody's really happy with the quality of them. So they seem to be quite good quality. Yeah, Roger nodding sagely there. So yes, good quality. So you can scan the code to go directly to the website to buy yourself a wonderful Space Oddities T-shirt. And also, we've got available hoodies. Now, the hoodies come in two types, the slip over the head ones and the zipper ones. The slip over the head one has the design on the front of the hoodie, and the zipper one has the design on the back of the hoodie, just to clarify that, because it wasn't immediately apparent to us, but that's the case. And if you'd like to go and buy yourself a hoodie for when it gets a little cooler later this year, I wish it were getting cooler here. So the hoodies are £35, including UK postage and packing, and you can scan the code again for buying yourself a hoodie, and there you are. Okay, so I'll put those up again briefly at the end of the program, because we'd love to see these Space Oddities T-shirts and hoodies out and about. So that would be really good, and wear them with pride. So. Moving on, let's go straight over to the man with his pulse on the finger of the night sky. I think I got it right this time. He is, of course, known to millions as Mr. Stargazing. Roger Stargazing. So there we are, Roger.
Okay then, folks. Another week of events happening in the night sky, or not, depending whether it's cloudy or clear. Okay, so we're coming up through the last week of July already, and when I had some clear skies earlier last week, this was the moon that I saw.
Beautiful.
And I
Roger.
And I've not seen it since. It's disappeared amongst all those.
Hang on, you're not telling me you've actually had cloudy nights in Sparkford?
Yeah, I know.
How can that be?
I don't know. It's unnatural. And this is what our nearest star looked like a few days ago as well.
Looks like it's got acne.
It's got a little bit of activity on the go, so that's still good.
There was a big CME a few days ago, wasn't there?
And this was the following day, say 2
Yeah.
days in a row that I managed to get an image of the sun. And as you can see, there's a fair amount of spots
Absolutely.
showing that it is getting near maximum. So that's good. But
Of course, we should
I'm just
point
showing
out-
you this, that down in the south of England, we've got nearly 2 hours of astronomical night here. So
Wow.
Oh wow!
it's coming along nicely.
Proper dark.
Imaging can be done a bit more seriously now
Mm.
when you've got. But as you can see, forecast is pretty much red all the way through, apart from tomorrow. But then I was looking on the BBC website, and they say it's going to be clear all the way through Tuesday night, Wednesday morning. So we shall
check it out
see.
then.
Somebody's telling porkies.
Yeah, wouldn't surprise me.
So we're coming up to the first quarter, which is tomorrow. If anyone wanted to see the Lunar X and the Lunar V, they might be out of luck this month, because it just appears as it's setting in the tomorrow night sky. So
What a shame.
that's a bit of a shame. But they might just about see the V, but not the X.
Right.
So there we go. So looking at the night sky, although I have got this on at 11 o'clock now, the planet Venus and Mercury are now not visible really anymore, but we've got the moon setting, and as that setting, we've got Saturn appearing. So that's a good sign. But obviously that will be closely accompanied by Jupiter after an hour or so.
Sure.
So things are still looking up.
I can't wait to have Jupiter back.
Yeah.
That'd be nice.
That will be up quite a way higher than Saturn is. Unfortunately, Saturn will only be about 15 or so degrees above the horizon at its best, with Jupiter being at least double that in the night sky. So,
It would be a lot higher here, of course.
yeah, well, it would be. But yeah, we've got the Milky Way now almost vertical overhead, with Cygnus and the other summer triangle constellations there.
Yeah.
So that's all well and good, as we can see. But then in about 3 o'clock in the morning, we've got good views of Saturn and Jupiter. And not too far behind Jupiter, we've got Pleiades and Taurus coming through.
Oh.
But they'll start to disappear when the sun comes up just an hour or so later. So that's all right. We won't get too reminded of the winter constellations coming up already. Yeah, so, but there we go. That's how it happens every year. And as we get nearer to the end of the week, we can start to see part of Orion coming through. And if anyone wants to see a comet, there is one quite high up in the night sky, but as you can see from Comet E1 Atlas, it's almost magnitude 11. So you obviously need a bit of a telescope to be able to pick it out anyway from the night sky. But it's in a good position up between Cepheus and Draco, and coming down through. So it might provide an interesting opportunity to practice doing some cometary imaging.
Absolutely.
Unfortunately, I don't have anything from the Hubble. They're too busy celebrating their 12 months of operation. So there's nothing of interest that I can find from last week.
You mean
so we will continue with the gallery. We have a few entries, fortunately, this week. First one coming from Michael, and he's got a picture of the sun in white light with his 72mm refractor Herschel wedge, ASI 174, and his Bader continuum filter.
Oh.
There we go.
Oh, very nice, Michael.
Very nice. Good details there.
Very good definition, isn't it?
Yes.
Lovely. Well done.
Snapping at my heels for the images on the.
Yeah,
on the
you better watch out, Roger.
Yeah, better look out. And then we've got Jerry DeLay with his Ring Nebula, but he's taken this with a Ritchie Crichton 6-inch telescope. and 15 times 5-minute exposures.
Wow.
Wow. And this is what he's provided.
Oh, Jerry.
That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
And we've got little star spikes from his telescope there on some of the brighter stars.
Lovely. Makes all the difference, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice. Lovely.
Quite effective.
Well done. Well done.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then we got Mr. Earp with some solar imaging with his quark. And this was on the 17th. So this was last week.
Oh, Kev.
As you can see, a lot of interesting activity on the surface here. Well caught.
Yeah. Yeah, you can see lots of filaments there, which is really nice.
Lots of
lots of magnetic activity going on there.
Where all the activity is, yes, amazing.
Yeah.
And then another one from Mr. Earp, which with a slightly different setup. But he says, well, I need to really drag myself away from the light, wrap up and get out in the dark. Until then, there's a sun peak in white light showing a few nice sunspots, some pretty faculae and granulation. And this is what we can see.
Oh,
that's lovely.
They're really snapping at your heels, Roger.
I know. Well, I'm trying to emulate Mr. Earp. He's my mentor.
He is very good, isn't he?
He is a very good.
I mean, that top left, that's quite a hell of a group, isn't it? You can see there's quite a few
Yeah.
spots.
And,
considering that, like you say, when you get sorry.
That's right. When you obviously follow it round, you can see how they split up and turn round and rotate and.
Yeah, because when you consider that they come in pairs. One's got a south pole and one's got a north pole polarity, and that's where the magnetic lines flow between. And there's quite a big little group there. So big little group. What's that? That's good English, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's the?
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. What are the bright lines across the big sunspot there?
Oh, the faculae.
The ones inside the sunspot.
Oh, that's just where it's splitting up, isn't it?
It's amazing. I've never seen that before.
Yeah, oh right. Okay.
I thought they just faded away rather than split up. Shows how much I know. I'll go back to my Observer's Book of Astronomy that I've got here, actually.
Absolutely.
So there we are. I'll go and do some more reading.
Okay.
Come here.
And there's one from me. So this is trying out some of my new gear.
Oh, yes.
I'm going monochroming.
Oh, heck.
And I've got a little Red Cat 51.
Is that a stain on my monitor, or is there something there? Oh, no, it's you. That's okay.
And this is the North American Nebula. But this is only the hydrogen image at the moment.
That's amazing.
That was 4 hours altogether. And I was quite pleased with that.
I would have been.
Yeah, I did do the following night some Oxygen 3, but for some reason it didn't come out as clear as it has been with this one. So I'm going to have to redo that one and then put the sulfur together and then do a racial on it and get a nice Hubble palette all to sort.
By the way, Roger, Ross says, are faculae the light filaments on the sun's surface?
Somewhere amongst it all.
Yeah, but is that what faculae are? The sort of the lighter filaments that?
I guess they are. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Ross.
Okay. And that concludes the presentation for this week's gallery and what's up in the night sky.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Well, thanks for that, Rog. Just a quick question, Rog. During the week, you showed some solar imaging, and you said you're using instead of just using an ordinary beta filter for people to actually, when you look through for optical viewing, you said you're using a film which is for photography. I didn't know there was two different.
Yes, there's an optical version which is an optical density of 5. And then there's a photographic one, which is a 3.8. but you can't use
Oh, okay. I didn't know
photographic
that.
one for visual because it lets in still too much light to
Yeah.
work for
Yeah.
visual. But it's perfect.
Oh, so you learn
It's
something.
a perfect
So learn
photographic.
something new.
Yes, it's a more photographic.
Yeah, maybe that's what I could do with actually. So, because well, the latest attempt at solar imaging, there was some high clouds. It was a bit fuzzy. You could see the spots, but you couldn't really see much definition on them. So, but I didn't realise that there was a photographic film. I'll have to look into that. Cheers,
Yes,
Rog.
it's exactly the same. Yeah, I bought it because I'd seen someone on Facebook using their 7-inch Maxitoff to do some really close-ups, and I thought, oh, okay. So I've purchased it for my Maxitoff, so I can get all the granulation up detail quite good, and it seems to work. I've given it a quick go, but you need enough time to be able to get the clouds out of the way to do it properly.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Maybe one day.
Yeah.
Maybe tomorrow.
Viewers, like to ask a little favour of you. We currently building the Space Oddities website, which I hope to have ready by September-ish. And to that end, we would like you, if you want to, of course, to complete just a short survey about Space Oddities, what you like about it, what you don't, what you'd like to see, what you don't want to see, what you'd like to put on the website, etc., etc. It's only, I think, 8 or 9 questions I wrote. It won't take. It's all click, 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 and a few writing there, bit of writing, if you want to. So if you could complete the survey for us, that will really help us see where we're going and what you think of us. So anyway, I'll put the link in the chat to the survey. It's completely anonymous. You don't have to log in or anything. That'll take you straight to the survey. Just fill in the questions. There's nothing personally identifying there. And I've also put this link in the description of the video at the bottom. So so if you miss this in the chat, it's in the description of the video. But yeah, if you could fill that out, just to give us ideas of where we're going, because your views are obviously very important to us, because we're here for you, and we want to know what you want and what you like and what you don't. So there you are. That's a viewer's survey for you there. Shouldn't take.
Yeah, Andy, I've just seen that Steve's put a clarification on faculae.
Right. Let's put this up.
Yes, they are the light streaks, but the filaments are generally darker streaks when we're looking down on top of the prominence. So yeah.
That's right. Yeah. So there we are. Thank you for that, Steve. Thank you for clarifying that. So yes, if you could fill out the survey, it will take 5 minutes, if that, I should think, to do that. So thank you very much indeed for doing that, and we'll let you know the results as soon as we have them in. Okay, moving on then. We you may have seen from the if you like, the headline of tonight's show, that there's been a rather unfortunate incident involving an observatory in Canada, and Michael's going to tell you all about it. So Michael, what happened?
Okay, can you just put my slides up, Andy, please? Yeah, basically, on early in the month, on 4th of July, one of the members of the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada was accessing the observatory to do some regular maintenance.
Which observatory is this?
It's the Hamilton Observatory in Ontario.
Right.
Okay. And they were going to the observatory to do some maintenance there, and noticed that the building had been both buildings had been damaged, with gaping holes where the doors and walls once stood. If you just go, the main picture there shows what the observatory looks like. If you go to the next slide, I've got to get it.
You can do that.
Yeah. If we go to the next slide, you can see what the sort of damage that there's been that they've caused. Basically, what happened, they found out through video footage that a male and female had rammed their truck into both of the buildings, causing the damage. And it says, while nothing was stolen, there was a significant amount of structural damage to the building. There was also significant and direct damage to the centre's pier-mounted 14-inch Celestron HD Edge telescope and the accompanying accessories such as the focuser, eyepiece, controller, diagonal, CGE mount, and the computer that controls it. They're still assessing the damage, but it's likely that the other telescopes, the 16-inch Richie Chrétien and the 17-inch Trust Dob would suffer a lot from the lime dust from the cinder blocks and cement that you can see in the picture there. So then it's the actual dust from that particular crash, if you like, into the building that's going to be the worst part of the for the telescope when the telescopes are concerned. So it's just basically a senseless act of violence towards a building that's got that's there for education and the enjoyment of a group of astronomers. It's all part of the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada, and they have found the CCTV footage, and the local police are investigating, and hopefully we'll be able to get the people concerned. They have started a GoFundMe page to raise money for this instance, because they've come to realise that although the building is insured, not all of the damage, I think especially to the damage to the telescopes, would have been covered by the insurance. So that is one thing that they wanted to get this fundraiser set up for. It's a GoFundMe page, and so far they've had 140 donations, raising just over $19,000. So it's been good so far. They're after $100,000 target and to get the observatory back up and running. But what they have done since last weekend, they started up their Friday night get-togethers there at the observatory, and that last week was one of their most successful events, with 25 people in attendance, which is really good news. So I think there's a lot of interest in the observatory, and hopefully they can get the observatory rebuilt, and the telescope was sorted out as well. So, yeah.
So I think they're presuming that it was an attempted robbery from two dumb people who didn't know there's not much really to steal.
Yeah. So I mean, unless you're an astronomer and know what's in there, I wouldn't have thought, maybe a computer or a laptop, maybe something worth something to an ordinary thief, shall we say? But
I mean, if you're going to steal the telescopes, what you don't do is drive a truck through the wall.
Exactly. Yeah.
So they obviously had no idea what was in there.
No.
So
yeah. So
they might have been pissed up or on drugs or whatever, but they've got their descriptions. I haven't heard that they've caught them yet, but I'm sure they will.
No, I'm sure we'll find out, and as soon as we do it, we'll keep you updated.
Yeah, we'll keep you updated on that. Very sad episode. I mean, we do see this from time to time. We were talking earlier about the Dumfries and Galloway Observatory that was burned down by vandals a little while ago.
Yeah.
And Steve says that the society had to disband as a result because they had no observatory.
Yeah. Oh. I mean, these observatories are in remote locations.
Yeah.
I mean, fortunately, they had CCTV installed.
Yeah.
And that, but anybody could have gone up there really and done what they did. But this is an observatory that's run by enthusiasts. It's all voluntary work that takes place there, and it's all for local education as well. For the local community.
Yeah.
So it's and it's where it actually is just left of, if you want a bit of geography, it's actually just left, or rather west of Lake Ontario. If you look at the Great Lakes of America, on the Canadian side.
It's heartbreaking when you
Yeah.
see people doing things like this for no reason, for no logical reason.
Yeah.
And when they catch them, they should make them pay for the damage.
Yeah, yes, they should. Yes, definitely.
I don't know whether they will.
Yeah.
Joe says this looks more like spite. Perhaps they did have a grievance against somebody. I don't know.
Yeah, could be.
You never know. We'll find out in time, I'm sure. So we'll keep our ear to the grindstone, if that's the correct expression, and we'll keep you posted, viewers, about what's happening with this. But fairly sad week for this observatory, obviously. Well, for astronomy in general, because you don't.
Yes, definitely, because it's basically not just hit that particular group. It resonates through the whole of the astronomical community.
Yeah, of course it does.
When things like this happen.
You don't expect to have to provide high level of security for observers.
Yeah.
You don't expect to have armed guards with German shepherds wandering about the place.
Yeah.
And if it's coming to this, that they have, observatories have to do this, I think it's so sad.
Yeah, definitely.
But do you know, I mean, it reminds me of Isaac Asimov's short story Nightfall, if you know that story.
Right.
Where it takes place on a planet where there's a planet orbiting a multiple star system, and they only have one night of darkness every 2,000 years as a result.
Okay.
And every single time, it's a cycle, every single time that they have a night of darkness, everybody goes mad because they're able to see the stars for the first time, and society collapses. And it's a lovely story because the people blame the astronomers. They think the astronomers are at fault. It's their fault that it's happening, and they blame them. And they march on the observatory with burning torches to burn the observatory down. And it's quite a shocking story, one way or another. It's very old, of course, but it's a lovely short story. And when you see attacks on observatories happening like this, I just can't help remember the Nightfall story from Asimov. Asimov wrote some absolutely cracking short stories. I've got a really thick book of them up here, loads of them, dozens of them, going back to the 50s. So if you haven't, viewers, if you never read the works of Isaac Asimov, I wouldn't start with the famous Foundation, because I found that the most tedious book I'd ever read in my life.
Right.
But his short story compilations are just magic. And he is, after all, the guy who gave us the 3 laws of robotics and all of that stuff.
Oh yeah.
So there we are. Okay, let's.
Yeah. Just a quick one, Andy. I've just been looking up the Dumfries and Galloway Observatory, and that's virtually a year on. That was the 23rd of June last year, and apparently they've actually commissioned some designs, and they're looking into hopefully trying to rebuild. There may be a glimmer at the end. And also, you were just talking about that film, that book, Asimov book, and it just got me thinking that when we talk about the end of the universe and with the expansion of the universe as it's going, eventually we will end up just being a galaxy island, an island of stars, all on our own, and we won't be able to see any of these galaxies. No. Well, of course, it's back in the 90s. Well, as late as 1960. We actually thought that the Milky Way was the entire galaxy.
That's right, yeah.
So you can actually see in future, if people are still around, that we will go back to that thinking eventually that the Milky Way is the only galaxy in the universe. So it's strange, thinking, isn't it?
It is. Okay, talking of books, viewers, if you would like us to do some book reviews on this show, then we're not averse to that. We'd be more than happy to do some book reviews on astronomy or science fiction or whatever you want. So if you want to do that, put it in the viewers survey that I just put the link into. There's a question, there's a section there where you can add any other comments if you'd like to see anything like book reviews, film reviews, anything like that. Then
or if you've got a review, let us know.
Absolutely.
If you've got anything to recommend, then let us know, and we can see what we can get on with.
Absolutely. We're more than happy to do that. Graham says by the time we can't see the galaxies, there won't be humans. So he's not going to worry too much about that. Yeah, very true. Very true, Graham.
Well, I'm not going to worry about it because I'm not going to be here.
No. But it just goes to show that, the universe is constantly changing, and it does go through phases, and that will be the end game, the heat death of the universe eventually. But of course, on this planet, we've only got about 1 billion years left until increasing solar radiation sterilizes this planet and kills all life. I'm not going to worry.
We're getting really morbid. I was just thinking, going through my head now, that there's actually going to be no one left to see that last star go out. It's a bit morbid, but it's just puts things in perspective, really, doesn't it?
Graham says Asimov's okay, but he prefers Arthur C. Clarke. To be honest with you, Graham, so do I. I absolutely adore Arthur C. Clarke. I love all the old masters, but Clarke is my absolute favourite. So I'm with you on that. So there you are. Ian says, great idea. He's done the survey, but he'd love to see reviews on here. Thank you, Ian. We will put something together then. So there. And also he says, well, about Heinlein, of course, and awful beer, but great writer. Yes, I mean, Starship Troopers was one of my favourite books of all time when I was a student, when I was a teenager. I still love it. But it's been criticised a lot for being a bit fascist.
What about I Lost My Heart to a Starship Trooper then?
Sarah Brightman. Oh gosh. Yeah.
Sarah Brightman, Gordon Bennett.
I know. I went and saw Hot Gossip at Ponte Pridid Polytechnic, as it was then. It's probably I think it's the University of Glamorgan now, and that was a big mistake because we were right at the front, and the minute the girls came on, you can imagine what happened. Everybody crushed the front, and I got crushed. Everybody wanted a better look, so to speak. So there we are. All right then. Yeah. So we'll knock together some reviews. Leave it with us. I'm not committing to when, but we will do it soon, I promise. So there we are. Now let's move on. There's been a rather interesting discovery about exoplanets. Let me show it to you. So just give me a second to sort myself out. And this is a star system called PDS 70. It's 400 light years from Earth. There's one known Jupiter-sized planet that you can see there called PDS 70b. But also, there's another object in exactly the same orbit. Now, it's thought to be a debris cloud. It's about twice the mass of our moon, and it looks like another planet in formation. So essentially what you've got is two planets in exactly the same orbit. And this has long been predicted, but it's never actually been seen before. And the other ellipse there is the actual orbit. It's an elliptical orbit that they're both following round the star. Also, there's another planet in the system, PDS 70c, which you can see there annotated. So this is a two-planet system with another planet in formation. And that one occupies a closer orbit to the star. But, this is quite amazing that you could have two planets in exactly the same orbit. Now, it's not unknown, of course, for asteroids to share the same orbit. If you think of the Trojan asteroids that follow Jupiter around the sun, they are lined up about the same orbit. But, astronomers have predicted for many years, as I said, that it's theoretically possible for two planets to share the same orbit. And here we have the first direct indication that that's what's happening. If that debris cloud is what they think it is, it's a forming planet. Now, they need to do more observations to confirm what's going on, but they won't be able to do it until 2026 because they want to see these two objects move around the star to a different position in their orbit, and it's going to take until 2026 before they think that'll be meaningful data. So we're going to have to wait 3 years or so to find out whether this is in fact what they think it is, that is two planets in the same orbit. But it's really interesting, and I'll just get rid of all the annotations, and there you have it. You can see the PDS-70b, what they think is a forming planet next to it to its right, and then PDS-70c just inside the debris disk around the star. So there you are. So I thought I would just show that to you because, I find it really, really interesting.
Yeah, because sorry, Andy, to interrupt, but you're talking about this. I mean, there is a theory as regards the formation of the moon.
Yeah.
That there was actually two moons formed in the same orbit, and the smaller moon actually slowly caught up, very, very slowly caught up with the bigger moon, and it smeared itself across the dark side, the far side, and that's why they think the far side could be thicker. It's one of the theories. So
yeah. Graham says, "What's the bright ring?" The bright ring is the densest part of the protoplanetary disk. It's where most of the matter is concentrated. So you can expect that to be developing planets as well in the future, Graham. So yeah, this is really interesting stuff. Susan says one may be helping the other form. Well, indeed, we don't know exactly what's going on there, and as I said, we'll have to wait 3 years or so for more data to find out exactly what's going on there. But it's quite an interesting discovery. I thought there've been a few interesting discoveries recently. They found a star, and this is really bizarre. One hemisphere of the star is hydrogen, and the other hemisphere is helium.
What?
Exactly. It's bizarre. It's bizarre. Honestly, one complete hemisphere of the star is predominantly hydrogen, and the other hemisphere is predominantly helium. So work that one out. So that's another odd one. And they found an exoplanet recently that has got metallic clouds that is the most perfect mirror ever seen in the universe. The light's reflecting directly off these metal, and the clouds are literally made of metal, and they're acting as a super efficient mirror. So there's some odd stuff going out there in the universe, but don't let that worry you, viewers. We'll get you through it all on Space Oddities.
Going back to the planet in the same orbit, it reminds me of the elusive planet Vulcan, and I'm not talking Star Trek. Yeah.
Well, thank you for not talking Star Trek.
Oh yeah.
Because you know how much it beat you after last time you mentioned Star
Trek.
Yes. So you've only just recovered.
Yeah, that was a planet that was close to the sun, wasn't it?
Meant to be.
Meant to be many moons ago. Many people said they think they'd seen it,
right.
But they reckon if it did exist, it broke up a long time ago. But some people think it was an optical illusion.
Yeah,
that was supposed to be closer than Mercury then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's all sorts of strange things, and the thing that I read an article about this recently that just confirmed what I think we all know, that in fact the solar system is incredibly unusual. That when we started finding exoplanets back in the 90s, it was assumed that somewhere out there, there would be a lot of solar systems like ours. Why should our solar system be any different? Why should it be unique? But in fact, having now found in excess of 4,000 exoplanets, it's beginning to look as if our solar system is really, really unusual, in as much as it has gas giants that are an appreciable distance from the star, instead of these hot Jupiters that we find all over the place that are, just whizzing around with orbital periods of hours. And to have this sort of temperate zone with the rocky planets closer to the sun is, from what we've seen so far, really unusual. So, this, you can take a philosophical view on this, and you could say, well, this is one of the reasons why life got started on the Earth, because this solar system is really unusual, and it wouldn't have the same conditions in other star systems. So there we are. So, interesting food for thought. What we really need, of course, is to find life out there to compare with life on the Earth. That's what we desperately need to do, because that will open up so many answers to so many questions. So let's hope we can get out to the outer solar system. Oh yes, while I think of it, you may be aware that the Perseverance rover on Mars has been dropping canisters with samples, rock samples, pulverized rock samples, that are going to be collected and returned to the Earth in about 10 years. That was the plan. Now, NASA planned to mount a sample return mission to Mars to pick up these canisters from where Perseverance has left them on the Martian surface, return them to Earth for analysis. But it's got suddenly very, 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 very expensive to do. Starting out with a budget of 3 billion, I think, wasn't it, Daz? I think that was the initial estimate for the budget.
Yeah,
it's now
like
rocketed
that,
up to 9 billion. And that amount of money is almost half the entire planetary exploration budget. So a lot of people are saying this is ridiculous, because if it's going to be another 10 years, we may have humans on the surface of Mars in another 10 years. You never know. And they can pick the canisters up. To pay $9 billion just to go and collect the canisters, valuable though the science would be. I mean, let's not underestimate how valuable the science would be to get Martian rocks back to the Earth. But it's a lot of money. And the Senate in America have agreed. And they have said, if NASA doesn't get the cost appreciably down of the sample return mission, it should be cancelled, and the money put into other projects like the Dragonfly lander for Titan, which we're all excited about, but also a new flagship mission to Uranus. And they could afford to do both of that with the money that they would spend on getting the samples back from Mars. Now, personally, I would love, before I die, to see another spacecraft go to Uranus. I mean, I think we'd all love that, wouldn't we?
Yeah, of course we would. Get out into the ice giants.
And because the rock samples on Mars is not the only way of getting that information, because I'm sure humans are going to be on Mars definitely within the next 20 years. So it sort of swings and roundabouts really. But if the money's going to be allocated instead to Dragonfly, that amazing helicopter that's going to explore Titan, and a new Uranus mission, I think that'll be fantastic. So
yeah, because you're talking about the budget that's actually been awarded to NASA from the Senate, and the Dragonfly didn't get anywhere near what they were hoping to get. But if by knocking on the head the sample return, and I'll bite my tongue on that, because you know what I think about that. But if they can get some more money into Dragonfly and ensure that we get that up and running properly, and then also get a probe out to Uranus, that'll be absolutely fantastic. And it's about time they started to look at how these things are funded. Considering the sample returns were supposed to be by the end of, in this decade, by the end of this decade, and it's been pushed back and back and back. They've just a while ago they awarded the contract for the rocket. I'm not going to mention who got it, but I'm not surprised that the prices zoomed up. So I'll keep me powder dry on that.
Steve says, I thought ESA was doing the collecting mission. I think.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it was supposed to have been. But of course, that's all gone to pot. Because I think there was something about the what's it called? The ESA Mars lander. What's her name? Yeah, that's it. Yeah, was going to have something to do with. I think there was going to be a share ride with that. But that's all. Of course, that's all up in the air. But yeah, it's unfortunate that things have to be, but the prices of these things are just going through the roof, and it's just delay, and we need to, like I say, get their act together. If they're finding that there's a lot of cutbacks, the only thing that wasn't cut back but didn't have its budget cut back and was actually increased was the military. We know that the USA love to support their military, and it's if they're going to be cutting back on budgets, then we need to, they need to prioritise. And because I know because we were supposed to be sending, is it Veritas to Venus? That got no money at all. And I did send to you, didn't I, Andy, that phrase that was in the NASA budget request, where it sounded like that any project that even if it's finished its design and development phase, will not be promoted onto its production phase, so it won't go any further.
Yeah,
which was a very strange phase, but it was worded that it wasn't, that clear. But if you read it as it stood, it sounded like that they were already looking at cutting things anyway, or delaying things anyway, pushing things back.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I wasn't sure what that meant, to be quite honest. It wasn't clear.
It wasn't. It's all in the legalese and gobbledygook, but just a quick reading of it could be giving us we've been misled, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Misinformation.
Something that Jack has mentioned, and I have been meaning to cover this, is I don't know whether you saw this, but humans have affected the tilt of the Earth's axis.
Yeah.
1.7 inches a year it's changing, and basically it's because we're extracting so much groundwater from underneath the ground. It's changing the balance of the Earth, if you like. So the axial tilt is actually changing, which when you think about it, that is quite frightening, isn't it? Not
yeah, because they were. Yeah, because they were saying like things. Because when I was talking about, what was I talking about? About the Earth's spin and things like that, and migration of animals, north and south, move the center of gravity, and that's like pulling the arms in because you're moving towards the axis of spin, so you spin faster.
Yeah.
And one of the things they were talking about also, wasn't it, is that the extraction of underground water.
Absolutely.
And that's
let me just read a bit about it. I've got it here. With thanks to Jack for this article, for bringing this to my attention. The tilt of the Earth has changed because humans have sucked a vast quantity of groundwater out of the planet over the past 2 decades, according to scientists. About 2,150 gigatons of groundwater was pumped out of the ground for drinking and farming from 1993 to 2010, enough to fill Lake Victoria, moving the tilt 31.5 inches to the east towards Iceland, according to a study published in Geophysical Research Letters. It was also found that the planet's north-south axis has been tipping at a rate of about 1.7 inches a year. Scientists said redistributing water around the planet made the Earth spin differently, as it was like adding a tiny bit of weight to a spinning top. The biggest contributor to movement of the axis is convection movements in the molten rock well below the surface, but the removal of groundwater has been found to be the second biggest contributor. Ki-Wan So of Seoul National University, who led the study, said, "We have affected Earth systems in various ways. People need to be aware of that." So that's quite frightening that humans, we're not just having an effect on the climate, we're actually having an effect on the Earth's tilt itself. I mean, it's just crazy. So there you go. That's that story. Sorry, Jack. Sorry it's taken so long. But thank you, and keep them coming, Jack. And so Ian says quite logically, can we even it up by taking water from the other side of the world? So I don't know if that's how it works. I would.
No, it's the problem is when you pump the water out. Of course, we use it. and then we pour it away, which then goes into rivers, which then flow into the sea, and of course then that spreads the weight of the water across the whole surface of the planet, which means you're also moving weight towards both the poles, which is towards the center of the spin axis. So, and that, of course, like I said, that's what I said, it's just like, you know, the skater. So you can, I mean, unless we can find something to pump back into these aquifers that we're draining, then I don't really know how we could overcome it.
There's a lovely old film you may remember called The Day the Earth Caught Fire. And it posited the Americans and the Russians doing huge nuclear tests at the North Pole simultaneously. And it knocks the Earth off its axis, which, you know, is a bit pie in the sky, to be honest. That could never happen. But that was the idea. And the whole climate of the Earth changed and everything started getting hotter and heating up, much like it's doing at the moment, in fact. Yeah, that was quite scary, and their solution was to do the opposite at the South Pole. Yeah, that'll work. Sure, it will. I'm sure.
Let's have a nuclear winter.
Right. So Steve says, you know, the amount of rain that's fallen in the last 2 days might help compensate. Yeah, very true.
Very good.
Yeah. All right then. Moving on. Daz, Selene.
Oh.
And we're not talking about Celine Dion.
Okay then, yeah.
So
no, nothing, no pop music, no anything like that. This is a bit of mythology.
Gather around the fireside, and Daz is going to tell you about.
Yeah. You'll have to bear with me because I've got it on several pieces of paper because I haven't had a chance to put it all together. But some of you may have. Sorry. Oh, so the hand is bored already. Look, some of you may have already heard people talking about, or astronomers and scientists talking about selenic cycles and selenic topography, referring to the moon, and it basically comes from. The moon was originally called by the Greeks Selene, and what I was just sort of wanted to do was just to sort of like tell you how this all came about in the mythological way. And basically, what I'll do is I'll just run through this. The moon refers to the Earth's natural satellite that orbits us on Earth. Selene is the Greek equivalent to the Roman Luna. Selene or Selenic refers to anything related to the moon, including its geology and its cycles, of which there are quite a few. So let's put it this way. The moon is the natural satellite and it's orbiting Earth. This is why when we refer to our moon, it has a capital N, because that's what we call it, the moon. When we are talking about other moons in the solar system, we use a small m when we refer to the moons. When you hear Selenic or Selene, it is more of a scientific term and refers simply to the properties of the Earth's moon. It should not be used in relation to any other moon's properties in the solar system. So basically, Selene refers to our moon. It's the same with Luna as well. You can't really use it for other planets, or other moons, but some people still do. Selenography is the study of physical features on the moon, Earth's moon. The metonic 19-year cycle where the moon phases occur on the same day and in the same place in the sky of the solar system year. There is also the lunar cycle and phases of 29.5 days. Both of these are considered Selenic cycles of our moon. So basically, as I said, Selene is a Greek word which actually means moon. So who was Selene? Selene was actually comes from Greek mythology, and she was actually one of the Titans. Now, the Titans were predated the actual Olympian gods. So we'll just go through the lineage, and I'll just give you some information about the Titans. Originally, there was the Earth, but in Greek mythology, there was the Earth, and everything, and it was surrounded by chaos. Now, out of the chaos came a being called Gaia. Now, you've probably heard of Gaia, and she's considered to be Mother Earth. Now, she came along, and she sort of started to she basically, and this is a bit that I consider as a bit like Christianity. She was on her own, so what she decided to do was to create a mate, and she created a male, or whatever you would like to call it. Remember, these are deities, called Uranus. Remember that name?
Oh, yeah.
And of course, out of that union, they had 12 children. Now, for this segment, I'm just going to name 3 of them. That was Hyperion. Now, he became the sun god. Thea. Now, we all know about Thea and the Thea hypothesis, sorry. And Kronos. Now, it turns out not to be a very nice guy. So next time you hear his name, I want to hear a big boo.
Hyperion and Thea, of course, are rings of Saturn, moons of Saturn. That's
right, and one of the other children was Iapetus, and that. So when you look into this mythology, you will see that some of the names that you're looking at, you will recognise from astronomy for different reasons. Now, so we had Hyperion and Thea. Now, something I'll go into a bit later on. So as I said, Gaia came out of the chaos that preceded life on Earth. Gaia created and married Uranus. Hyperion was the son of the god. Thea, as we know, was also the name of the proto-planet that collided with the proto-Earth to form the moon. Now, also Thea was the Great Mother, is also known as the Great Mother, as she reared and loved all of her siblings. Right. And what her siblings were: Helios, the sun, Selene, the moon, and Eos, the dawn. So yeah, Selene, the moon. So this you can see where I'm coming from now. So Selene, the moon. So let's just have a go into a bit more depth there. So who are the Titans? What is their story? How did the moon get to be called Selene? The Titans were the gods, before the better-known Olympian gods that took up the mantle. So you're talking Zeus here and Hades. The Titans lived on a mountain called Othrys. They were a really dysfunctional family, as we will see. Mm-hmm. Their leader was Uranus, and Uranus was the husband of Gaia, of Mother Earth. They had 12 children, and for this purpose, as I said, I'll only mention the 3. Thea, the eldest daughter, Hyperion, and Kronos. Ooh, come on, get in the swing of it. Oh, that's pathetic. Anyway, so we need to look firstly at, for our purpose, we need to take a deeper look at Thea. Thea is sometimes referred to as she of many names, or goddess of many names, which infers assimilation of different names from tales from other peoples. So they could have either been, the mythologies mixed due to conquering of different peoples, or peoples joining together in marriage and things like that. The name Thea means light and brightness. She is not one of the headlining gods, and is only mentioned as a staunch supporter of her husband Hyperion. She was always by his side in a fight. She is often depicted in pictures with light beams emanating from her eyes, which meant she could see anywhere in where the beams fell in the world. It is also said she had a power to incinerate her enemies with these beams. Now, so she is a good girl to have in the, in any rumble, if she can incinerate people with these beams. Thean was a Titan goddess of sight and of the shining ether of the bright blue sky. She is also revered for the ability to prophesize. As well as being the deity of light and brightness, she was likened linked to shiny things like gold, silver, jewels,
Right.
etc. And so offerings were made to her by sportsmen and businessmen in the hope that she will shine on them, and so they will be victorious and successful.
Right.
Because of her status and beauty, Thea refused to marry a mortal. As mentioned earlier, Thea reared and loved all her siblings, especially Hyperion. Now, as is with the want of the gods, although brother and sister, Thea and Hyperion had 3 children. Again, as I said, Helios, Selene, and Eos. Uranus, thinking of the succession of his throne after he favoured Hyperion and Thea to follow him. Now enter stage left the villain of this tale, Kronos. Ooh, come on. You're useless. Fearing Hyperion was gaining more and more power, and the favoured son of Uranus, Cronus plotted an evil plan. The stories on the facts differ in what happened next. In one tale, Kronos kidnapped Hyperion's and Thea's 3 children, Helios, Selene, and Eos, and drowned them all.
Right.
Fearing Hyperion's rage, he told him Uranus had committed the insidious act, on which Hyperion promised revenge on Uranus.
Ooh.
In the second, only 2 of Hyperion's and Thea's children are mentioned, and that's Helios and Selene. This is really Thea's tale, and it's written by Diodorus.
All right.
So in the second tale, I won't read the whole tale because we're against time. So in the second tale, Kronos, fearing Hyperion's growth in power, puts Hyperion to the sword, killing him, as well as drowning Helios. Selene, the daughter, upon hearing of her beloved brother's death, throws herself from a great height to her own death.
Oh, well.
But as for Thea, his mother, while seeking Helios's body along the river, her strength left her, and falling into a swoon, she beheld a vision in which she thought that Helios stood over her. He urged her not to mourn the death of her children, for he said the Titans would meet the punishment that they deserved, while he and his sister would be transformed by some divine providence into immortal natures, since that which was formerly being called the holy fire in the heavens would be called by men Helios, the sun, and that addressed as Mean, the moon, would be called Selene. There we go. Thea spends the rest of her life distraught in grief, telling all her tale of woe. Thea eventually vanishes into a violent lightning storm, giving her an immortal essence. She was elevated to a goddess status by the people and worshipped. Plus, her children's names were given to the sun, Helios, and the moon, Selene. So you can see where we're actually coming from here, is that Thea, of course we've got the Thea hypothesis, was the mother of the moon. So basically it all sort of like fits together. And as you go back and look through these mythologies, you will see that we have a lot of them are linked to Greek tales of old. So it's all linked together. And as I said, when you go look through this and all, you will actually see names that you will actually see and recognize from astronomy. So I just thought I'd like to tell you that's how we got the name Selene.
If I remember rightly,
and we get the Selenic side.
The famous story of the first men in the moon, the alien race that was found on the moon were the Selenians, weren't they? So it does come up a lot. Right. It does.
Yeah. But it's only used now for more scientific naming, things like that.
Yeah. Talking of the moon, we must congratulate India for launching Chandrayaan-3 last week. You may remember Chandrayaan-2, their lander nearly landed on the far side of the moon. And thanks to, I can't remember the problem, I think it was a software error, it actually managed to crash into the far side of the moon. So this is Chandrayaan-3. It's a new improved version with the new instruments and new this and new that. Had a picture-perfect launch last week from India. It's getting to the moon in, I think, next week, isn't it? The first week of August. So, yes, Ian says, well done, India. Yeah, absolutely. So we look forward to seeing the results. I mean, for me, anything landing on the far side of the moon has got to be really exciting, hasn't it?
Yeah.
So, as it's a bit of a, unexplored terrain, as it were. Apparently, I was reading today that do you know how many lunar missions from various countries are planned over the next 15 years? Apparently, there are 300 missions planned to the moon over the next 15 years by various countries. Lou, oh hello Lou, glad you can make it. Let me let you in, Lou. Sorry, Lou, didn't see you there.
There we go.
Landing
has it actually gone into orbit now? It's not gone into orbit yet, has it? No.
No, but it completed some sort of an orbital maneuver.
Yeah, that's right.
Just perhaps yesterday, which was successful. So it looks like it's in good shape so far.
Yeah, good. Fingers crossed for India.
August 23rd or 4th projected landing.
Yeah, Ross says 24th of August.
24th.
Yeah, that's right.
Region.
August for the actual landing. So we're looking forward to the pictures and the rest of the data, of course. So there we are. So how are you, Lou? Thank you for joining us.
Oh, appreciate everybody's patience. Sometimes I have meetings on top of meetings on top of meetings. But it's nice to be here.
Yeah. So Graham says, anybody interested in the myths and how they link to constellations, I can recommend Stephen Fry's books, Mythos and Heroes. I've done them as audiobooks. Oh, fantastic. So thank you very much, Graham, for recommending those. I always love listening to Stephen Fry. He's got such a great voice when he's reading. So there we are. Yes, Ross says yes. Landing planned for 24th of August in the southern polar region. So that would be good. We are working on an item to bring you viewers soon about the plans for NASA to land at the south pole of the moon, and the difficulties that they face, and how they're going to do it, and how they're going to live, and how they're going to get about, and all this sort of thing. So look forward to that in probably a couple of weeks. We'll have a look at that for you. So Lou, are you? Do you have something to share with us?
Sure. Let's see. I don't see it on my. Let's see if maybe if I just click on it here, it'll.
I don't see anything there.
Let's see. There's one. There's one.
Right, got that one. Yes. Okay.
And, let me get one more here.
Okay.
Depending on how much time we have.
Right. Well, let's do the Mars water today, and then perhaps the other one next week. Yeah. Is that all right?
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
By the way, Daz, is all that stuff you said, is that all peer reviewed? I was just wondering.
What about Selene? Yes, Wikipedia.
Oh yes, it's got to be true then. Okay.
It's got to be true.
Okay, Lou. So,
Yeah.
what's this about new evidence for Mars surface water then?
Well, so we've suspected, with good reason, for many years that water, it does exist on the surface of Mars as permafrost, and in some cases as water ice, very thin water ice clouds, but that water actually flowed on Mars sometime in its history. And there's very strong evidence from lots of different sets of observations from the surface, from orbit matching theory, that Mars once had liquid water in abundance on its surface, especially its northern hemisphere. I'll show you some of that evidence in a minute. But as I suspect most astronomy teachers have stood up very confidently before our classes and said that, well, this was true maybe 3 or 4 billion years ago. It appears that water may have flowed nicely on the surface much more recently. So we're going to let's take a look at some of this evidence. I think this was a Brown University study that I'm referencing. Let's see. Click. No, let's try this. There we go. Okay. So evidence for water on Mars. All right. So there was water on the surface pretty clearly. Where did it go? The MAVEN spacecraft claims that it a lot of it was ionized and the hydrogen floated away, but a fair amount of it also seeped down into the clathrate subsurface. And so we see, and this is some data here, which is actually a combination of orbiting spacecraft observations, that there are these subsurface water ice reservoirs under the surface of Mars, which could be sources for water for astronauts in the hopefully not too far future. So there's one piece of evidence that water used to exist. This is kind of interesting. This is an image of the I think it's pronounced Kasai Valley or Kasai Vallis, and it's quite possible that these images, these kind of grayish stripes here, are evidence of very high mineral content water on the surface in the area of Newton Crater. And this would be MRO high-rise images. So maybe with very high mineral content, perhaps, I think there's some controversy about this, the conclusion here, but perhaps there's a little bit of water on occasion in the summer if it's a high mineral content. So we'll leave that alone for a moment. Here's some more evidence, clearly, of flow channels on Mars. You can see these all over the planet. Liquid water flowed freely on Mars. We see topographical evidence for this, and we also see mineral evidence for this.
Right.
Here's one example. This is gypsum. Okay, and this is an opportunity Mars opportunity image, and gypsum on Earth forms in the presence of calcium sulfate and water. So more evidence that water was present on the surface of Mars. This is all I'm kind of building up to it here. However, recently, a Brown University study looked at variations in Mars obliquity, in other words, its axial tilt. And it turns out that its axis actually tilts quite a bit over periods of hundreds of thousands of years, not billions of years. And it can achieve an angular tilt of up to 40 degrees off of the perpendicular. And what that means is that the hemisphere, that one hemisphere or the other, is pointed much more strongly at the sun, and therefore getting much more direct rays of the sun. And the modeling that they've done suggests that at that point, liquid water could exist on the surface of Mars when its axial tilt came to a maximum, which is about every 600 to 650,000 years. Now, for comparison, Earth's axis goes through swings, variations too, but only between 22.1 and 24.5 degrees. And the reason is that we have a large moon orbiting the Earth, a large Selene, I guess, if you will. And this keeps Earth's tilt fairly well under control with its period of small shifts about every 41,000 years. Mars has no large moon, has two very tiny moons with hardly any gravity each, and so there's nothing to kind of keep Mars tilt under control. So this is very new evidence that water may have existed on Mars within the last few 100,000 years, not the last few billion years. Now, this is an image of gullies that we had believed formed from the CO2 frost that would sublimate on the surface, and it would the sublimation of the CO2 would free up rocks to run down the crater slopes and form these sort of gullies. But now the evidence appears to suggest that these were in fact carved by liquid water in the more recent past of Mars. This is the Terra Serenum, I think is how it's pronounced. It's the MRO high-rise images as well, taken over a period of time between 2009 and 2013. And so it appears that we may have been wrong, as we've said confidently to our astronomy students, that Mars used to have water billions of years ago. It may be that it had surface water much more recently.
I'm just wondering, with that axial tilt, how long that period would last, where liquid water is able to exist on the surface. So are we talking thousands of years, or presumably it's not something that's going to be there and disappear overnight, is it?
Well, of course, the Mars orbital period, right, is like 2 to our years or so. So as with this maximum tilt, some points in its orbit, you're going to have much more direct sun rays.
Sure.
And then, of course, 1/2 Martian year later, you're going to have much colder temperatures.
Yes.
So, it's probably a seasonal thing.
Yeah. Interesting, Lou.
Yeah.
This has been talked about for a while, hasn't it? But these gullies are. I was looking at some color images of them a couple of days ago, and they're, when you look at them, they can't have been caused by anything other than liquid water. It's just it's highly unlikely anyway. And they look so fresh and recent. They're not eroded or
not a lot of erosion, right?
No.
Right.
So yeah, very, very interesting stuff. Excuse me, I'm just trying to catch a mosquito. So there we are. So thank you ever so much for that. That's really, really good. And keep us posted on further developments with that. Because obviously, as we explore Mars more, I'm sure we'll get to know a lot more than we do at the moment. So,
because there was a few years ago, there was some images of sort of like dark fanning around the edges of craters, and they thought that could be liquid water flowing down to the base of into the bowl of the crater.
Mm-hmm.
And there was because I think there was even a Zooniverse project to try and spot these streaks. Streaks thing, and they were seasonal, as you said, Lou. But they thought that was possibly water melting and then flowing down into the valley or into the craters and that. So yeah. And also, I was thinking if we could tap those water reservoirs underground, we could probably affect its tilt, couldn't we? Going back to the Earth.
We're doing that with the Earth, I think, aren't we?
Yes, we were.
That's
earlier. It's 31.5 inches. We've changed the axial tilt so far, so it's quite frightening, really. But there we are. Such are humans. Okay, now, ladies and gentlemen, if you could fill out the viewers survey, I've just put the link in the chat again. Just click the link. As I said, it's totally anonymous. Just a few questions about us and what you like and what you don't, and all that sort of stuff.
Bank account numbers and things like that.
Absolutely. Credit card numbers.
PIN numbers.
All that. Nothing to worry about. If you could, this link is also in the description of the video, so right at the bottom. So scroll down the description and you'll see it. We'd like to get as many people who watch Space Oddities filling this survey out, because it would give us a good idea of where we're going and any changes we need to make. Graham says survey goes all Spanish at the end. Be prepared. Does it? Well, I had selected the language as English, but one never knows. So thank you for letting us know, Graham. Just click OK. That's all we need. Just fill out the questions and then just click the button at the end. I don't think you need to do more than that. Any questions?
Yeah, but that's signing your life away. Those are that's access to your will and everything.
That's right. Where there's a will, there's a way. So there we are. If you could fill out the survey, that'd be fantastic. If you have any questions about completing it, email us at spaceodditieslive@gmail.com, as always. In addition, of course, send your gallery entries to spaceodditieslive@gmail.com. 1 image per email, please, to make it easier to deal with. And thank you to everybody who continues to send us these brilliant images. We're all permanently blown away by the quality of the stuff that you're sending us. And whisper it not, we really hope to do a proper calendar at the end of this year. This one with the dates actually on the calendar. So featuring your images. So there we are. So yeah, Graham, about the survey, Graham says questions are English, instructions at the end of Spanish. He coped. Well done, Graham. Thank you for that. Basically, you have to click OK. So there we are.
Get Google to translate it.
Yeah. Google is your friend. Don't forget. So there we are. Thank you to everybody who has watched us tonight. Koen, if you're watching, my smashing Belgian friend Koen, if you're out there, mate, I hope you'll be a regular viewer. He said he was going to drop in tonight and watch. So I hope you've enjoyed it. And we will see you back here on Monday next week at the same time, 8 p.m. UK, 3 p.m. EST. And until then, from everybody here at Space Oddities, have a fantastic week. Look after each other, and hope everything goes well and you actually get some clear skies this week for doing some astronomy. So there you are. So say goodbye, guys.
Very good.
Goodbye, guys.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, everyone. And I'd just like to say that last year's calendar is now a collector's item. It's worth some pennies.
It probably is, actually. Yeah. Ian actually says 2024 Daisy hopes. Yeah, we'll do our very best on that, Ian. Don't worry. We're not going to get caught like that again, I promise. So there we are. All right then, guys. Take care. All the best. Bye-bye.